Where were you based in November 1978?
Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was with the 330th Movement Control Center in support of 18th Airborne Corps.
And what was your job at that time?
Uh, well, movements control. We monitored exercises, the transportation, logistics, and all the rest of it for the exercise. And when they kicked the exercise in, we would shop various packages because at times you don't always send whole units into a particular area. You send units that are tailored to adjust to operating in a specific theater or field or whatever.
How did the news first get to you that you were going to go to Guyana?
Oh, fun. We had just completed an exercise at Eglin Field, also an auxiliary field, Dillon Field in Florida. And I arrived back at Fort Bragg and got a telephone call from the Emergency Operations Center to go to the arms room, draw a 45, and report to the Green Ramp, which also came under our control. Green Ramp is a rapid deployment ramp for 141 C5s, 130, so forth. We got on a Starlifter, the C-140, 41, and at 12:30 in the evening, and hit Tamari Airfield at 4:30
In the morning.
in the morning.
Wow.
Are fast. They're cold, but they're fast.
Yeah. What do you know what day that was?
Uh, well, it was on the 23rd, the evening of the 23rd, but we hit there technically on the 24th of November, right
So
around Thanksgiving time.
right. So when you got the word that you were going somewhere in a hurry, did you know immediately where you were going?
No, we didn't know that until we were in the air. And they had us check our weapons in, lock up our weapons and all the rest of it. And they seem sort of quirky, but it is what it is. When the aircraft landed, it was surrounded by these little short fellows with submachine guns and dark blue uniforms and black berets. I guess the police force.
Were they were Guyanese
Yeah,
police. Now the tragedy in Jonestown took place, I believe, on November 18th.
yeah.
So were you following the news? Or were you at least aware of what had happened?
No, indeed. Like I say, we were out in the boonies. The news was the last thing that we were concerned with.
Wow. So when you get in the air, that's when you're told that you're going to Guyana.
Yeah.
And did they explain to you then what had happened?
Yeah, they gave us a brief explanation, and they said, well, approximately 417 people, they committed suicide down there.
417.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Ju-
Yeah. And right. Well, and the numbers were off for a while. How long did it take before the actual number came in? I imagine it came in while you were there.
Yeah, well, we landed, and the same time that we landed, units from the 193rd Light Infantry out of Panama and the 5th Special Forces had already been there and were doing, completing the body count. So when we got the body count, it ended up being 917.
Wow. Yeah. What is your first memory of being on the ground in Georgetown?
HOT warm, 110 degrees in the shade.
And you fly overnight. Do you go right to work as soon as you land?
Indeed.
What did you?
That's how we take care of business. They had structures and all the rest of that, and we set those up along with arranging for receipt of the transfer cases, because they had the metal transfer cases that are slightly pressurized, and you put the body bags into the transfer case. We only had 450 transfer cases and 400 and 450 body bags, and so naturally there was a shortage. As the bodies started coming down, and we were transferring them from the helicopters to the transfer cases using deuce and a half ton trucks, to move the bodies from, from the helicopters to the preparation area to package them up and then put them on the 141s and send them up to Dover.
Some veterans who were there, they talk about the shortage of body bags, and they say that in some body bags you had multiple children.
Yes, there were a total of 180 babies who had been born due to the contraction of the cyanide, and we had two female soldiers there. One, she understandably, it just blew her away. We had to send her back because it was too much for her. The other young lady managed to hang in there. She was a nice, bright, smiley face amongst all of that stuff that was going on down there.
What happened to this one female soldier who did she work for a while, and then did she come up to you and just say, I can't do this anymore? How did that go?
You sort of pay attention to it. It's something with us old guys, especially the combat vets. It doesn't take you but about 1 or 2 minutes to notice a change in behavior or demeanor or whatever. It's an acquired art, I guess. You can sort of read somebody in about 1 to 2 minutes.
And did you read her and you could tell that she wasn't gonna be able to keep doing this?
Looked good. It didn't look good. So, when I noticed what the heck was going on with her, I said, well, I'll watch her for just a little while longer. And that was maybe about half an hour. And I said, no, it's time to pull the trigger and get out of here before real damage comes, upstairs. We sent her on back with, just a thank you and for support and all the rest of it, and to make sure that somebody on the medical side of the house sat her down and hit her with that immediate counseling instead of waiting for it to boil over and cause her more damage.
You experienced combat in Southeast Asia in the late 60s.
Yeah.
So obviously what you're looking at in Georgetown is not combat, so it's a very different thing. But you see the sights of combat, you see the results of combat, you see what you see at Georgetown, and they are very different. But how would you compare the two in terms of just the kinds of things you see and the kind of impact it has on the soldier?
The after effect of death in combat, you see it happening, and then you see what the end results are. It's a weird way of saying it. The bodies are fresh. Okay. The temperature is a little bit different. At the altitudes that I was at, the ground target elevation is about 3,600 feet. And like I say, as it's going on and you're watching these people, getting killed with DK-82 mortars and all the rest of it. And we've got a couple of the little fellows, and not really little fellows, little ladies in the wire. It's basically it's conflict, but it's fresh. Jonestown is different. Jonestown, they'd been out there 110 degrees. Rigor mortis came, rigor mortis left.
And as
So
you said, it's extremely hot, extremely humid.
10 degrees in the shade, and they'd been out there, like you say, the event occurred, I guess, around about the 18th, and they waited over a doggone week, and those bodies are laying out there and just starting to fall apart. And that's where the wintergreen comes in. We used an average of about 5 gallons of wintergreen a day in that place.
Is that's kind of a cologne or a freshener, air freshener?
It's a wintergreen oil, and it sort of neutralizes, impact that overpowers the smell that you encounter.
And the soldiers put that on scarves then and put that around their face to,
Put a little bit of it on around your face. You spray the areas. It's wintergreen all over the place.
wow. You described the one soldier who, your assessment was this soldier's not gonna be able to keep doing this, and so she's removed from the situation.
Yeah,
How would you describe, because at this time I imagine you're primarily in a supervisory role.
yeah.
Um,
I was NCOIC down there.
so the non-commissioned officer in charge. So how would you assess the soldiers generally? So that one soldier, we can't do this mission, so that soldier's removed. How did the other soldiers deal with what they were experiencing there at the airport in Georgetown?
Well, they knew what they had to do. The majority of them, unfortunately, had to supplement the grades for registration people because they performed a mission that I was not on, and that was the 239 people that got killed in the Canary Islands.
So some of the folks who were in Georgetown had been part of this previous.
So they had a little bit more experience in graves registration and body recovery and transfer and all the rest of it.
How long were you there altogether in Georgetown?
Shoot, from the 24th, the 24th till about the 30th.
And are you there, at some point, the last of the more than 900 bodies are flown from Georgetown to Dover. Were you there through that whole process? Or did you leave after the last bodies went out?
The last bodies, because I had to fill out the AF-96s, the freight way bills for each one of the bodies. I had to sign off on all of those way bills. The one individual that made the count 917 was the Guyanese, and the Guyanese left him at the end of the airstrip. 3 days into the exercise that we were involved in, which is called Operation Keys, they shut off our water.
And why did that? Do you know why? What happened with that?
Yeah, I guess just pure peak.
The Guyanese?
Yes.
So was there tension then between the U.S. forces and the Guyanese on the ground, or?
We did not deal with them directly. They weren't in the area. It was solely an American exercise. They didn't participate in the evacuation or security or anything else.
But something happened and the Guyanese cut off the water that had been available to you?
So they cut it off after 3 days.
So did,
Period. Just cut it off. Period.
so did the US then have to, I imagine then water started being shipped in? What sorts of things did you see? I mean, obviously, when the bodies are taken from Jonestown, if I have it right, so here's my understanding, they're in body bags. They're flown from Jonestown to the airport in Georgetown. in the body bags.
Yeah.
Then in Georgetown, they're put in these metal cases. I don't know what the exact
Yeah,
right word is.
yeah, transfer cases.
Transfer cases. So is that the process?
Yeah.
So as far as sort of seeing what had happened in Jonestown, are you only seeing the body bags?
We're seeing the body bags. Sometimes we had to make adjustments for the little babies and all the rest of that, do transfer body parts from one bag to another and then into the transfer cases.
Good grief. When Jim Jones's body arrived at Georgetown, I mean, was that kind of news that went through? You know, here's the body of Jim Jones.
Well, the first body, the special forces have a sort of a weird sense of humor. The first bag was labeled Jim Jones, and hey, this looks sort of weird, and it's sort of hard to maneuver. We opened up the body bag, and it was his ape.
The chimpanzee, Mr. Muggs.
Yeah.
That
So we finally got the right body bag, and that was Jim Jones. We certified that it was him, and then we loaded him up and shipped him out.
so the special forces guys, they sort of a dark joke in a dark time. They labeled Mr. Muggs the chimpanzee as Jim Jones.
Jim Jones, yeah.
And then how were you able to verify that it was Jim Jones?
Well, we managed to obtain some pictures from some of the journalist people down there. So we just one and one made two. It looked like him, so it must have been him.
Okay. And I don't want to, this is my last question along this line. I don't want to get into gory details, but did you see evidence that, you know, the word is obviously the overwhelming majority died from consuming the flavor aid with cyanide in it, but Jim Jones was shot. Did you see evidence of that?
Yep.
Okay. You had a long career in the United States Army, and you saw service in Southeast Asia. I believe after your Army career, you spent some time in Kuwait around the time of the Gulf War, and then you have this incident in Jonestown. In terms of intensity, in terms of things that rattle around in your own head, memories that rattle around in your own head, where would you place this experience in Georgetown dealing with the immediate aftermath of Jonestown? Where would you place that in the list of these kinds of intense experiences that you had in this very long Army career?
Jonestown and Laos were they're in competition for first place.
Okay.
Bounce back and forth. The comparison between combat and what happened in Jonestown, yes, they're different experiences, but the feelings to a degree are still the same. Death is death. There's no getting around it, you know.
Wow.
And the reason I'm saying the Jonestown and Laos were at a tie because uh, uh, you've got these people that are victim of this monster, number one, and then on the other side of the fence, you've got these guys that I used to. I was with them. I lived with these folk, these 400 guys that got killed. Okay. Uh, and like I say, they gave me my nickname and all the rest of it.
You mean in Laos you're speaking of now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we laugh and joke and had some good times even in that area.
So in your memory then, the experience of combat and war and everything that comes with it, and the experience of Georgetown, seeing the immediate aftermath of Jonestown, these things they kind of compete in your mind in terms of just the difficulty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, When you're flying to Georgetown, you're told what happened, but you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
You get on the ground, you find out what's coming, and then you go through these days. Now I'm interested in hearing what you remember about the flight home. Um, the job is done. You're on the plane on the way home. Um,
Mhm.
what's going on? What's going on with you on that flight?
Yeah, well, thank God it's over with. Uh,
Hmm.
as much as we love the Army, there are some things that they have you doing, and you do it because the discipline takes over. It's as you get a little bit older, it's not uncaring, but it's pragmatic. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. And when you get put in that position, you've got to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, then you're not doing your job. And that's what you took the oath to do.
Hmm. When you got back to the States, did you have a little time to, take a breath, or was it right back to work?
Back to work.
Yeah.
Uh, I got off of the aircraft, got my transport to my home. The wife was standing in the doorway, and she saw it. I said, "Don't you even. You go back in the house." I stripped at the front door, took all my,
Because of the smell in your clothing?
you know, and then when I went into the house, then I took a good hot, steaming hot shower, and like I say, the nose, you get nose blind to the smell. That's
Mm.
the other thing, you get nose blind to it. The vehicles, the extraction equipment, and all the rest of that muck business. We tried to deodorize those, but that was an exercise in futility. Because once those human fluids get into metal and wood and all the rest of it, it's a done deal.
Wow. Did you tell your wife at all about what you'd seen, or did you just kind of let it
Oh,
go and move on?
no, I just told her it was ugly, it was nasty. You're gonna read about it. I'm not gonna extrapolate on it. Uh, she's, she had been with me through Laos and all of, in Vietnam and all the rest of it. There was no sense in subjecting her to that. She'd had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had three daughters, and that was another thing to take into consideration. I tried to shield them as much as I could. When you're in places like Bragg, the media people, boy, they blow it up, blow it sideways, and no matter how much you avoid it, it's going to come out. It's going to hit them in between the eyes. If they have any questions, then I clear up those questions. But I don't want to be put into a position to try to sugarcoat things and lessen the impact. It's
Yeah. There's that phrase that you often hear, don't drink the Kool-Aid. And a lot of people don't even know where that came from.
I I I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
You know, it was flavoring. Like I started to thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
It was Flavor Aid. It wasn't Kool-Aid. But once people start repeating the same phrase over and over again, it sticks. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. And I keep on thinking every time I hear that, Jeepers, you people are brain dead. You're listening to the wrong stuff and attaching the wrong labels to it.
When you hear people say that, though, to most people, it's just almost a throwaway line. And I think now a lot of people don't even know where that phrase comes from. Not only do you know where it comes from, but you have firsthand experience of what led to that phrase in the first place. Have you ever had an experience where somebody says that and you've sort of stopped and said,
Yeah,
"Hey, let me tell you about that phrase."
yeah, wrong answer, dude. It's the wrong answer. You don't drink the Kool-Aid. You're tantamount to committing suicide. for a goofy reason, cultism, and you know you're saying it, and you know I can't impress on them the impact of seeing that and the after effects of it. But now people they say it, and it's sort of take it like comment.
Mm.
They don't
Th-
tie death up with the Kool-Aid.
mm.
That's what disconnect is. They really don't tie the death up with the Kool-Aid, suicide, murder. They don't do that.
Whenever you hear that phrase, do you always kind of react to it, even if you don't say anything?
A little bit, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's with you. It is with you.